On a remote peninsula in northwest Russia, scientists have been drilling down to the center of the Earth for decades. They went as far as 40,000 feet deep, and this is the deepest drilling ever done. However, something unexpected happened, and the scientists were forced to shut down their experiment once and for all. It is no surprise that man is fascinated to discover what is hidden deep beneath the surface of the Earth. Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Ever since the first satellite was sent into space in 1957, man has been fascinated by discovering the secrets of the stars. Today, with the help of space companies, we know a lot more about the universe. But as we look up, we see another mysterious world back on Earth. Many believe that our knowledge of space is far greater than what lies beneath the Earth's surface. The struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union in the Cold War for conquest below the surface of the Earth, few remember. In the late 1950s, two groups of American and Soviet scientists began to organize complex experiments to penetrate the Earth's crust. At first, they thought of digging up to 30 miles to the center of the Earth. The dense shell, leading to the mantle, makes up 40% of our planet's mass. In 1958, the USA started with Project Mobile. Located near Guadalupe, Mexico, the operation consisted of a dedicated team of engineers drilling into the Pacific Ocean floor to a depth of over 600 feet. However, 8 years later, the project's funding dwindled, and it was eventually abandoned. The Americans never reached the mantle. The Soviets started in 1970. A team of scientists began drilling into the Earth in the Pechengsky region, a sparsely populated area of Russia. The goal was simple: to penetrate as deep as possible into the Earth's crust. The Soviets had set a goal of reaching 49,000 feet below the surface of the Earth. Using specialized equipment, researchers began digging. But while the Soviets had begun their own experiment, the Americans began to make their own progress. In 1974, Lone Star Producing Company began its own drilling in the Washita region at western Oklahoma. He created the Bertha Rogers Hole, and it was a man-made wonder that reached 31,400 feet below the Earth's surface. Lone Star started out looking for oil. Although it did not find what it was looking for, it remained the deepest hole on the planet for 5 years. On June 6, 1979, the Russians managed to break the record in one of the drillings they did in the area. The 9-inch wide hole had managed to reach a depth of 39,000 feet. But in order to achieve the record, they destroyed some of their tools. For 1-2 months, they stopped drilling and people could visit the place. The next year, the experiment restarted, but a technical problem forced them to stop again. In order not to lose the battle to the US, the Russian researchers abandoned the previous drilling and continued with another one that they did in parallel, starting at a depth of 3,000 feet. By 1989, they reached a depth of 30 feet, breaking a new record. Those involved in the project were very optimistic and believed that the hole would exceed 44,000 feet by the end of 1990. Some predicted that drilling would reach its target of 49,000 feet by 1993. But as the drill neared the center of the Earth, a completely unexpected change occurred. In the first 10,000 feet, the temperatures inside the borehole were more or less what the researchers expected to find. However, after this depth, the heat level increased very quickly. The hole began to approach 180 degrees Celsius. It was 80 degrees warmer than expected. But that was not the only problem. The rock was getting harder and harder. As a result, it was reacting to high temperatures. Their equipment would not last under these conditions. So in 199 years after drilling began, they abandoned the project. However, researchers were able to learn some exciting things before the borehole, dubbed the Kola Super Deep Borehole, was sealed. For example, at a depth of 4 miles, they discovered tiny fossils of marine plants. These remains were remarkably intact given how long they had spent beneath the Earth's surface and date back over 2 billion years. Another important discovery is the measurement of seismic waves. The granite beneath our feet shifts 2 to 4 miles at regular intervals. However, they soon found that this was not the case, at least in the area where the drilling was taking place. The researchers found mostly granite, even at the deepest point of the borehole. They made quite a few useful conclusions about seismic waves, but that was not all. To their surprise, they discovered water several miles below the Earth's surface, in places no one would have predicted could exist. Many were excited and believed it was evidence of ancient floods, but the truth is that rocks can trap water inside them. When the Kola superdeep hole was closed, it coincided with the fall of the Soviet Union, and by 1995 the project was abandoned for good. Today, the site has been flagged as an environmental hazard, although visitors can see some remains from the project about 6 miles away in the nearby town of Zapolyarny. This particular record has not yet been broken and remains the deepest point on the planet. However, the battle to the center of the Earth is not over yet. In the oceans, large companies continue to dig deep below the seafloor. They battle expensive equipment and extreme temperatures to learn secrets waiting to be discovered. Any attempt at the center of the Earth is always remarkable. For example, a two-man submarine plunged into the frigid waters of Antarctica on a dive into the unknown and a discovery mission. The goal of the crew members is to go as deep as they can near the South Pole in a mission that man has never done before. What they discovered is a glimpse into a world no one has looked at before. However, this plan must be put aside for a while. Careful research is needed to find the ideal time and place to dive, and there's a very good reason for that. Man knows much more about the planets of our solar system than about the bottom of the Earth. Indeed, we have managed to map the surfaces of the planet Mars in greater detail than the bottom of the sea. To put this into perspective, the average distance between Mars and Earth is estimated at 140 million miles. In contrast, the average depth of the oceans is just over 12,000 feet, which is about 2 miles. If you think that diving in Antarctica is an easy task, you are very wrong. The scientists had to find a good spot to start the dive. They chose a location called Iceberg Alley. The location in question is one of the northernmost points of Antarctica. The expansive sea is surrounded by chunks of ice, some of which are the size of a car, while others cover half a square mile. So sinking a boat in the right place is a huge challenge. Their foray into the unknown has been documented by a documentary. Executive producer James Honeybourne told the BBC some of the problems he faced. It wasn't just the right spot to start the dive. There were other factors that made this mission difficult. One thing the team wasn't sure about: how will the submarines they use perform under water pressure? But those worries faded as they began the dive. The reason? Underwater, they discovered an amazing ecosystem of strange creatures, including one they used in the Star Wars movie. Life in Antarctica is harsh and unforgiving, but underwater, there is a huge abundance of strange creatures. Mark Taylor told LA The Bible, "In the depths of Antarctica, there is more life than on the reefs of Australia's Barrier Reef." The sea snow that researchers found under Antarctica was, according to Dr. John Copley of the University of Southampton, thicker than we've seen in Earth's other oceans. But what is sea snow, and why is it so important to life on the seafloor? Marine snow is organic material that flows from the top of the oceans to the bottom. It is an extremely important food source for deep-dwelling creatures, as it transports nutrients and energy from the parts of the sea that receive sunlight to the parts of the ocean that do not. However, an important food source was found in the depths of the Antarctic waters. Krill are tiny species that live in all the oceans of our planet and play a very important role. Their excrement turns the seabed into a muddy habitat ideal for life. One of the strangest creatures discovered is the Death Star. It got that awful name for good reason. The animal, whose Latin name is Labidiaster annulatus, is a relative of the common starfish, but he is a beast in front of him. The Death Star can have up to 50 tentacles as weapons. When something touches it, the tentacles immediately close and trap it. Most of the time, the unlucky victim is some krill that passes by. There is also something else strange about the Death Star. Fish are the dominant predators in the world's other oceans. The Death Star is a stark example of how different things are in the depths of Antarctica. Because the water is so cold, few fish can survive. Thus, invertebrates are at the top of the food chain. Diving in Antarctica is like looking into a window that shows you what life was like in the sea before man walked the earth. Dr. Copley noted, "It's the backbone animals that dominate as predators. This is how the oceans were more than 250 million years ago. Another strange creature that lives in the Antarctic Ocean is the dragonfish. This particular fish is adapted in an extraordinary way to survive in incredibly cold conditions. Its blood contains proteins that act like antifreeze to prevent it from freezing. In addition, his blood is pure. It does not need the hemoglobin that we humans have to carry oxygen in our body. And beyond scientific discoveries, a better understanding of our world is something even more profound than going to a place we find difficult to reach. Dr. Copley said of the ending, "What we're doing is exploration in its purest sense. If we all share in the exploration of our planet, then we will all feel that we are participating in a better future."